Good morning and welcome back to the Adventures of Mac and Anthea. In today's video we're going to be testing out one of these tyre removal tools and seeing how effective and sort of how viable it is to use on the sort of the larger, heavier duty van tyres. So bit by bit I've been gradually moving away from taking my tyres down to the mechanics or the tyre change place to get them sorted. I first started with motorcycle tyres. It was getting to be a bit more hassle and it was worth taking it down there, and I bought the tyre levers to do the tyres myself at home, actually in the vice. Then recently I actually tried an agricultural tyre, which has sort of empowered me to do these tyres myself. I did have the help of the mini digger, which I used the blade to actually break the bead on the agricultural sort of dumper tyre, and I actually used my levers from my bicycle tyre kit, you know, and managed to do it. Now, it was hard work, but I had zero experience of doing it, and I think from what I've learned from that, you know, I should be able to do these van tyres pretty easily, especially with this new machine. Now, this new machine, surprisingly, if you follow the channel, you realise that I'm quite a big advocate of AliExpress, but this actually turned out to be cheaper from Amazon, and they actually managed to get it to me early. I ordered some other parts with it, some actual tyre lube and some valve kits and things like that, and they never turned up. Some of them were lost in transit, some of them were marked as delivered, but when you look more closely, they'd just been delivered back to the depot and basically left there in limbo for God knows how long. So even though Amazon, I think, is a good company, the actual delivery companies they're using in my area at the minute are completely rubbish, you know, and just don't make it viable to order anymore from Amazon. I'm actually getting stuff arriving direct from China quicker than it comes from next day delivery on Amazon. So yeah, I think this is probably going to be the last thing I order from. Anyway, that aside, that's get it opened. I haven't looked inside, so I hope it's the right thing. Let's get it opened, have a look and see what we've got. Okay, so this is it. Let's get it open and see what we've got. Okay, so this looks right. It looks like what I ordered. So let's get it out of the box and see what we've got. Okay, so on the whole it looks pretty good here. I didn't think we had any washers, but then the final bolt actually had some on, but we've only got 4, so I think the first job's going to source another 4, so we can protect this paintwork from these bolts when we tighten them up and stop corrosion from getting in there. As far as I can see from the diagram, it looks like this sort of goes on like that, and then the sort of the mount goes in sort of a diamond shape to mount onto this, the actual post. Not ideal straight away. I don't think it's going to be particularly sturdy just held with a bolt like that on there, so I should probably at a later date end up sort of welding these joints and making a complete X out of it. But I think for now, yeah, that's fine. Let's get it together and see what we've got. So we saw some nice big chunky washers here to protect paintwork, so let's get this together. I'm going to put them together loosely to start with, just in case I get it wrong, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so that was unnecessarily confusing. 14mm one side and 17 the other. Okay, but it looks like we've got it right, so let's tweak them up. So that's it all put together, and despite my concerns about this, actually, you know, these little bits not being joined to the main bit, it seems fairly sturdy. So the next thing is where we're going to mount this. Now, ideally I'd mount it in a concrete pad, but I'm not really sure where I'm going to want it in the future. I'm also going to want to put it up so that it can be removed. You know, I'll use this once in a blue moon. I don't want it stuck taking up space all the time, you know, when it doesn't need to be. So it'll be a case of sort of mounting it on the concrete pad, bolting it down and then using it, and then after I finish, you know, taking it down again. But like I said, I don't really know where I want it to go. And if I do it sort of a concrete pad now, I need to really get, you know, a good block of concrete in there. I can't really use threaded bars sticking up because obviously I'll be tripping over that all the time. So I need to sort of arrange some sort of bolts going down and then something to sort of block the holes when it's not in use so we don't get filled up with dirt and crap and then you can't bolt it down later. So it's a lot of work before we can get on with the actual work we need to do with this. And I need to get this done. My van's overdue for the ITV, which is the sort of annual check. And I need to get some new tyres put on it. So I think what I'll do for now is I'm going to bolt it to one of these pallets and hope it's going to be sturdy enough for me to change tyres on. So this was the least rotten pallet out of the two, looks about the strongest. And I just see a little point in probably putting the bolts in these ends here through this plank. I think it's more likely just to tear it straight out, but I'm going to put them through, straight through here, straight through the plank and straight into this sort of 4x2, into there. And hopefully that'll hold it firm enough for us to get this tyre off. So that's it done. And I'll stand on the pallet. It seems fairly firm, fairly sturdy. Hopefully it'll be sturdy enough. So I think it's time I'll go and get a wheel off the van and we'll give it a go. So here it's our tyre, it's off, and unfortunately due to poor wheel alignment we've destroyed a perfectly good tyre here. Look, it's completely worn off on this side, whereas it's still got plenty of tread on this side. So a little tip for you guys out there who own an older vehicle and probably prefer older vehicles as I do, a problem with tracking. Previously I had my van realigned, the wheel alignment redone over and over again and still had the same fault. In the end, the fault laid with the actual front springs. If you think about it, over a 20-year period, which is how long they were on my van before I changed them, the constant compression and springing back over time, they just won't spring back to their original form, and you'll find that your vehicle is sitting lower to the ground than it originally would when it was new, and that screws with the geometry of the suspension and actually turns the wheels in, and then it ends up wearing down on one side. So worth bearing in mind that, you know, completely separate to what we're doing here today, if you're getting repeated problems with wheel alignment and getting the wheels aligned isn't curing that, then look to your camber and you know, and the compressed, you know, and your compressed springs. Now back to this, I've actually replaced recently the track rod ends. Now I was careful to get them on exactly the same place, but of course, you know, they're aftermarket, they're not the same as the ones I took off, so I suspect that's probably why we've got a problem again. And I will try and do a video in the future on how to align your wheels at home. So a video for another day. So anyway, back to this. I think we're going to get the air out this tyre and we'll see how well this actual bead breaker here works on it. And so this was the first of several mistakes I made whilst changing this tyre. The actual rim of the wheel should be sat on this piece of welded angle iron at the base of the machine. You should have at least this distance between the tyre and the stem, as opposed to pushing the tyre right up against the stem. Positioning the rim of the wheel correctly on the machine makes a huge difference to the efficiency of breaking the bead on the tyre. I messed around for a good 10 minutes before I managed to break the bead on both sides. The second wheel I did took less than a minute. Eventually, however, I managed to break the bead on both sides and could move on to the next stage just in time to make my next mistake. Okay, so how I understand it is we need to unscrew this collar here. It says. There we go, off. Remove this, I think. And then place our tyre on face down with one of the holes for the studs over that. This second mistake cost me dearly. A good half an hour of messing about and trying every which way but loose to try and get this wheel off with the wheel face pointing down. The wheel face must be pointing up. I don't know really why it makes such a big difference, but one way it's near impossible, and with the face up it's relatively easy. Again, like the last time with breaking the bead, I managed to get this tyre off relatively quick, within sort of 10 minutes on the second wheel I tried. Once I finally figured out what I was doing wrong and decided to turn the wheel over with the face pointing up, the tyre came off relatively easy. Once that was completed, the rear side of the tyre came off relatively easy again, albeit with the aid of a small tyre lever. So now we come to one of the plus sides of doing it at home. I don't know if you ever watched people change tyres before and thought, I really would like him to give me that wheel and give it a good clean up where the bead's meant to seal before he puts that new tyre on. Yeah, it affords you the time to, you know, sort of titivate around the rims and clean them all up and get them so that you get the two bonding surfaces really clean before you put the new tyre on. So I think I'm going to get on with that. I would normally replace the valves, which I don't normally do locally. I know they do in the UK, but in Spain they don't normally replace the valves. But of course, I ordered them because I wanted them quick from Amazon. They didn't arrive, so I haven't got new valves. I'm going to have to stick with the old ones, unfortunately, on this occasion. But I'm going to give that rim a good clean up, and then we'll get some new tyres on. So I've cleaned the rim of the wheel there. Lots of crud on there to, you know, make poor contact with the tyre and the actual wheel there. I think we've all been there where we've had new tyres on, you know, we haven't got a puncture, but we're still putting air in every week because it's sort of leaking slowly through the rim. Anyway, hopefully that will prevent that. I haven't used soapy water this time because I'm a bit concerned about getting corrosion inside the wheel, but I've used some sort of WD-40 to try and push this in a bit back on. So let's give that a go. With this being a commercial van tyre, it wasn't just a case of pushing it on like you see in so many videos with people doing with car tyres. It needed quite a bit of effort to push it down, and to finish it off I had to use the tyre lever. Okay, so that was a little bit more difficult than you might expect with a car tyre, but I still managed to get it on with the actual lever. So let's see now, we're going to line this up. Apart from what I'm seeing, this yellow dot here has got to be in line with the valve. The yellow dot represents the lightest part of the tyre as it left the manufacturers, and obviously the heaviest part of the wheel is going to be where the valves where the actual valves fitted. So obviously it's going to make things balancing if I need to balance this. Okay, and apparently you put, let's move this around off the, put this hook in here, out this way round, and pull. I have to say, I didn't have a great deal of success with this tool using it in this regard. I had much more success pushing the tyre on as best I could. I used a couple of G-clamps to hold it in place, and then I just used the tyre lever in the traditional manner. Okay, so we got it on. I had to actually use the tyre lever end of the bar in the end rather than just a hook. It just wasn't doing it. And I used these G-clamps to help me along, which did work. Obviously, if I had the new clamps that sort of clamping off the rim here, that wouldn't have been an issue. So yeah, everything going on, batteries running out on cameras, SD cards filling up the bloody lot. Everything's fighting me this morning. But anyway, it looks like we've got there, so let's try it with some air in it. Okay, so we've got the compressor charging. I'm going to realign this dot here, hopefully, he says. Alright, it's going to fight me some more. There we go, realign this yellow dot with the valve. So, let's see if we can get this, this beta seat. Looks like it's going to go. Just waiting for this side to come out here. So it's fully seated even though it's not up to pressure, but I'm going to take this opportunity to get this valve back in. Okay, so that's one done. Now, is it worth it? Well, yes, in my opinion it is. Now, what I'm about to say is no reflection on the Spanish people or Spain, although their relaxed attitude towards planning and organisation doesn't help matters. But I've got family back in England who have the same sort of problems whenever they want to do anything really, not let alone just changing tyres. But the procedure for this normally goes like this. I normally order the tyres because otherwise that prolongs things even further by up to a week. I order the tyres myself and I take them down to the place to get them changed, in a different vehicle. Now, they can't normally do it straight away, fair enough. I don't expect them to drop everything and do my tyres for me. But they normally want me to leave them, so I'll leave them with them. I says, when will they be ready? At 10 o'clock tomorrow, normally the answer. I'll say, okay, well, I'll come at 12 and I'll collect them. Gives you a bit of extra time there. So I've got to turn up at 12. They haven't been done. And it often means, well, sorry, we're busy again. Can you come back again tomorrow? Well, the place I get my tyres done, the nearest place, is 15 kilometres away. If I do 3 trips, that's 90 kilometres. So straight away, you've got, 3 mornings basically wasted there, going backs and forwards and all that travelling, time I could be doing something else. Then you've got diesel, that could be what, 15, 20 euros. Then you've got 20 euros each per tyre to get them fitted. Well, this machine here cost me £49.50. So basically, in the first 2 tyres I'm gonna do with this now, that's paid for itself. I haven't got all that running around, I ain't got the diesel, and more importantly, because this sort of thing really stresses me out when people don't do what they've agreed. I haven't got the stress in it, burning my head out afterwards. Sometimes for, a couple of weeks later, it's burning my head out because I think all that wasted time and I'm busy, I could have been getting on with something else. So yeah, for me at least anyway, it's definitely worth it. It's definitely viable for larger tyres. I'll probably be trying them on the lorry tyre in the future, so that'll be interesting. And I'll also just about ready to replace the tyres on the dumper as well, so that'll be interesting as well. And we've got the added element of the inner tube to make things more interesting as well. So anyway, I hope this video helps some of you guys out there. I know there's a lot of people who've done videos on this, so it's probably not the first time you've seen it. So all it remains is thanks for watching. Please hit that like and subscribe button, and I'll see you next time.